Welcome to Christ Notes today. We're going to start Galatians chapter 4. So we'll just jump right into it. It says, "Now what I mean is this. As long as the inheritor, the heir, is a child and underage, he does not differ from a slave, although he's the master of all the estate." Remember, we're talking about law. And the law was elementary. The law was the beginning. The law was leading up to Christ. And it's been done away with. And so he's writing here, we Jews, and he's talking about Jewish people. Remember, not Gentiles. Gentiles were never under the law. The law was never a covenant between God and all mankind. It was only a covenant between God and Israel. The Gentiles had no part of the law. So why would anybody ever want to be put under it, especially, when we have grace? So that's what Paul's writing to the Galatians. He says, you don't want anything of this law. And he keeps explaining over and over and over again, you don't want law. And he's doing that because law sounds better than grace. We want to hear, okay, these are the set of rules. If we follow that, then God will do whatever. But that's not the way it is. It's just grace. It's mercy. It's our Father being in control of us 100% of the time. So we go into verse 2. It says, "But he is under guardians and administrators or trustees until the date fixed by his Father." Now that's a really cool thing. Our Father fixes the dates. Our Father's in control. Always remember that. No matter what it is, God's in control. Don't freak out over predestination. Our Father knows the beginning and the end. And like King David wrote, all the days of my life were written down before any of them ever took shape. Paul wrote, he said, "Man, let me tell you, before I was even in my mother's womb, I was a chosen vessel by God to go preach to the Gentiles." And it was, I believe, Zechariah where he said, it's not in a man, not in a strong man, not in a man at his best to order his own steps. A man's steps are ordered by the Lord. John the Baptist, he said, a man can claim nothing is coming from himself unless it's first granted to him from our Father. Jesus said, without me, you can't do a thing. So don't freak out over our Father has fixed a path for you. He's prearranged paths for you to take. The Bible clearly says it. He says God just has fixed things. He's the potter. He's the gardener. He knows what needs to be done, and he'll do it. We're not somehow overriding him in us directing God. God's directing us. He's in control. God isn't reactive to us. We're reactive to him. And it says, so a fixed date. God fixed a date. He fixed the date for the law to be ended when Jesus was sacrificed. He says, so we Jewish Christians also, when we were minors, we're kept like slaves under the rules of the Hebrew ritual and subject to the elementary teachings and the systems of external observances and regulations. I screwed that word up bad. But anyway, look what he says. The law, that's elementary teaching. Remember in Hebrews, Paul writes, he says, let's move on to perfection. Let's not lay again the foundation of repentance from dead works and all that. Let's move on to perfection. Same thing with the law. Don't go back to the law. Don't think the 10 Commandments and all these rules and regulations that church tries to put on us are ever going to justify us. That stuff just dooms us. That's elementary teaching. That's beginning stuff, man. That's before Christ. Now we have mercy. Now we have grace. Now we have faith, authored and finished by Jesus. Think of that. Any situation you come into, whether it's good or bad, it's up to Jesus to make sure you have absolutely the faith that you need to be victorious in that situation. That doesn't set you free. I don't know what is, because that takes all the burden it places right on him, removes it on him. The battle's his, the victory's ours. We cast our cares upon the Lord because he cares for us. Then we come into verse 4, it says, but when the proper time had fully come, God sent his Son, born of a woman, born and subject to the regulations of the law, to purchase the freedom of, and to ransom and to atone for those who were subject to the law, that we might be adopted and have sonship conferred upon us, and be recognized as God's sons. So he said, look, the law didn't allow us to do anything great. Grace, it allows us to be used perfectly. It allows us to go into the situations where there shouldn't be any solution, and God provides a solution. It allows us to look at the situations that the world says are hopeless and cause hope to abound there. Rivers of living water flow from us because of grace. If there was law, it would hinder it. There'd be trickles here and there whenever we just somehow got it right. But you know what? Our righteousness is as filthy rags. Our Father knew that. He's consigned us all to disobedience only that he may have mercy on us all alike. And since he has mercy on us all alike, he'll use us all abundantly. I hope you're seeing this. And look, Our Father just keeps having Paul write it over and over and over again, because he knew not only did the Galatians need to hear it, there's no laws. He knew we need to hear it. We need to hear it every day, because the world wants to operate with rules and regulations. And God says no. Grace and mercy. That's how you have life and have it more abundantly. Thanks for logging on. We are blessed today in the power of our Father's might.